Welcome. In this lecture, I wanted to summarize the procedure that we went through for related rates with including that last final step that you will sometimes need to incorporate. So the first thing you want to do is you want to list your givens and desired values, as well as, right, another thing we kind of did was we set our notation. It may already be set within the description of the problem, or you might need to set it yourself. Okay, and another thing that you should make sure is that you're actually keeping track of general values versus values at specific times. Right. And what I mean by that is that there's going to be, like in that particular problem that we went through, the price was at a particular time. And so that price of $40. And the same thing with DPDT was at a particular time. Okay, so you want to wait to put in those like specific values until the very, very end, because then you're looking at what's happening at a particular time. Okay? And then we're going to use equations to relate the quantities. So use equations to relate quantities. And in our circumstance, the relationship was given between Q and P, okay? But it's possible that's not given, and you might have to do something like use the quadratic formula, or the Pythagorean theorem, or relationships within a circle, or things like these. These are very common relationships to use. Okay, and then the next step is use the chain rule to differentiate both sides with respect to t. Okay, and this is where we're taking dt, we're taking the derivative with respect to t of both sides. Okay, so this is where you take, I know that you know what I mean if I say take d dt, but it's not really proper language, so it's good to first say what we really mean. Okay, and then the next thing is you want to substitute in specific values. And then finally, you want to solve for the desired value. So by the time that you're solving for it, everything else should be numbers. We didn't actually need to do this, but you've seen this kind of thing before with implicit differentiation. Okay? So these are just kind of the steps that you go through. Some of these, you're going to get questions, usually related rates questions that come in a form. You're like, what? There's so much information. I have no clue what I'm doing. And you just slow yourself down. What are quantities? What are rates? Set variables for the quantities and then their associated rate. So if it's the variable is p, the associated rate is dp/dt. So kind of keep that straight. And then you can kind of slow yourself down and see, well, what values am I given? Are they values that I'm going to have to wait to stick in till the very end, or are they just constant values? So you can kind of sort that all out for yourself in the first step. And once you have it sorted out, then you could like throw away this big discussing, problem statement. And now, okay, yeah, I need to have an equation that relates the quantities. I guess you don't want to throw out your question statement until you found that equation. It might be in the question statement, or you might need to use tools within it. But at that point, you're switching just to the mathematics. You're going to take d dt of both sides. That's going to allow you to relate the rates. That's why related rates. Okay, making sure to use the chain rule. Everything is probably dependent on t, so you sometimes are applying the chain rule multiple times. And then at that point, now you're ready to plug in your specific values. Like, don't do that till the end, but now you're ready to. And you should be left with somewhere in there is like your DQDT will be somewhere in there, and everything else will be numbers, and you just need to kind of get the DQDT on its own side and all the numbers on the other side and solve it. Okay, so I hope that was helpful and made some sense. I know related rates are tricky, but you can do them, and I will see you in the next lecture.